My sister dropped her kids off at my house and demanded I babysit them while she goes on an 8-week vacation. When I threatened to report her to the police, she arranged to have me assaulted in my own home so she could take them back. Hi Reddit, I'm Megan, 30F. And this story still makes my hands shake when I think about it. It's not just about boundaries, or entitlement, or toxic family. It's about betrayal so deep that it changed the way I view family forever. To understand what happened, I need to take you back a bit. I'm the oldest of 3, I'm 30 now. My sister Tara, 27F, is the middle child and my younger brother Jake, 25M, is the baby of the family. Our mom passed away when I was 18. It broke us all in different ways, but Tara changed the most. After mom died, our dad started working longer hours and checking out emotionally. I was already halfway out the door, preparing for college. But Tara, she became addicted to chaos. She got pregnant at 19, dropped out of school, moved in with her boyfriend, and had a second kid by 22. When her boyfriend bilated, Tara moved back in with dad. But things quickly spiraled. She wasn't interested in working or getting her life together. Dad enabled her, saying things like she's struggling. Be patient, help her when you can. And I did, for years. I helped pay for diapers. I drove her to appointments. I took her kids, Milo 8M and Lila 6F, on weekends so she could have breaks. I wasn't just the big sister. I was the unpaid second parent. But the more I helped, the more she expected. Eventually, I had to step back. I had my own life. I started a small graphic design business and was finally financially independent. I bought a small house in the suburbs 2 years ago. Peace, quiet, no drama, or so I thought. The drop-off that changed everything. 3 months ago, Tara called me and said she needed to talk urgently. She showed up at my place with the kids in tow and barely let me get a word in. She launched into this breathless, manipulative pitch. She had an opportunity to go on an 8-week international yoga retreat. It was for her healing, she said. A once-in-a-lifetime deal. She swore she had no one else to trust with her kids. I asked, how are you affording this? She shrugged, said she'd been saving. A friend helped cover the ticket. I said, Tara, I have a business to run. I work from home, but I can't supervise kids full-time. Her face hardened. You don't want to help your own niece and nephew. After everything I've done for you. I stared at her. Tara, what have you done for me exactly? She didn't answer. Instead, she hugged the kids, kissed their heads, and then walked out of my house. No overnight bag, no car seat, no instructions, just 2 confused, sleepy kids and a slammed door. I stood there frozen for a full minute, wondering if I was dreaming. She didn't answer her phone for 3 days. The first week, chaos, confusion, and guilt. I won't lie. Milo and Lila are good kids, sweet, curious, and sadly way too used to being treated like an afterthought. I made them food, set up sleeping bags in my guest room, juggled work deadlines, while trying to be their stand-in mom. I texted Tara again and again. Her replies, relax, you're good with kids. I'll be back before you know it. Don't be dramatic. When the 4th day came and she sent me a selfie in Bali, grinning with a cocktail in hand, I almost threw my phone. I confronted her via voice message. This is not okay. If you don't come get your kids, I'm calling child services. She left me on read. Week 2, emotional burnout by the 2nd week. I was burnt out. I was barely sleeping. My business was falling behind. And Milo started acting out. He kept asking when they were going home. Lila started wetting the bed. She cried at night, saying she missed her mom. I cried too, in silence, in the shower, on my laptop, trying to work through the fog. I wasn't their mother, but they didn't know that. To them, I was the safe one now. And I resented that Tara had forced me into this role, with zero consent. I finally called my dad. His response, just help your sister, you're not a mom. You wouldn't understand how hard it is for her. I nearly screamed. Dad, she abandoned her kids on my doorstep and went to Bali. He sighed and said, try to be understanding. Don't ruin the family over this. The threat that night, I emailed Tara again. I gave her a deadline, 48 hours. Come pick up your kids, or I would report her for abandonment. She finally called me, not to apologize, not to explain, but to scream. She said I was ruining her healing, being selfish, and jealous of her freedom. She claimed I was traumatizing the kids by threatening to call the cops. I told her flatly, if you don't come back, I will go to the police. You've left me no choice. She hung up, and then nothing. The assault the next morning. Something felt off. I noticed a strange black SUV idling near my driveway. I thought maybe it was a neighbor's guest. Around 6 p.m., I went outside to get a delivery. As I turned the corner back into my house, a man mid-30s heavyset, wearing a baseball cap, grabbed me by the arm. He shoved me hard into the wall of my porch. I screamed, trying to fight him off, But he slapped me hard and hissed in my ear, "You messed with the wrong sister." Then he ran, got back in the SUV and peeled out. The kids saw the end of it through the window. They were crying. I was shaking uncontrollably, bleeding from my lip, my shoulder throbbing. I called 911. Police involvement. When the officers came, they took it very seriously. I showed them the texts, the voice messages, Tara's Bali selfies. I explained the situation, how she left the kids, ignored my calls, and then this happened. The officer looked me dead in the eye and said, "You need to consider filing for emergency custody. This isn't just abandonment. This could be part of a larger pattern of neglect or abuse." That shook me. I didn't want to raise these kids permanently, but I also couldn't throw them back to someone who would send a man to assault me for trying to protect them. The twist, 2 days later, Tara called. She sounded smug. "So I heard you got a visit," she said, as if talking about a pizza delivery. I didn't reply. She continued, "Well, if you give me back my kids, maybe I can forget this whole thing happened." I froze. "You're insane," I said. She laughed. "You think the cops care about you? You're not even their real parent." She then told me calmly that if I went to court or tried anything dramatic, she had a few things she could say about me too. That I was unstable, that I worked from home and neglected the kids, that I was bitter and dangerous. That's when I knew I had to act, not just for myself, for Milo and Lila. After Tara's call, I sat on the edge of my bed, shaking, not from fear this time, but from something harder, sharper resolve. I had spent years tolerating her chaos. I had given her the benefit of the doubt. I had been the safe harbor for her kids, the emotional punching bag when things didn't go her way. And now, she had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to plead. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to finish this. The legal move. The next morning, I called the officer who had taken my statement. I asked if I could speak to someone about emergency guardianship. He referred me to a child welfare liaison, and that led to a meeting with a family lawyer named Cynthia, a sharp, kind woman who asked me 2 questions after I explained everything. "Do you want to pursue this? And, are you prepared for what happens if you win?" I told her the truth. I didn't want to raise Milo and Lila forever, but I also couldn't let them go back to someone who abandoned them for cocktails and yoga on a beach, while arranging violence against their only stable caregiver. Cynthia said Tara's actions might qualify as willful abandonment, and that, under state law, I had grounds for temporary legal custody while the matter was investigated. By Friday afternoon, a judge granted me emergency guardianship of the kids, effective immediately. The moment I held the signed papers in my hand, something shifted inside me. I wasn't just their aunt anymore. I was their legal protector, and I wasn't done yet. Exposing the assault, I requested the police pull any nearby security footage, and by some miracle, one of my neighbors had a doorbell cam that caught the SUV's plate number when the attacker left my driveway. The footage wasn't crystal clear, but it showed enough. The car was registered to a man named Zane, one of Tara's flings, someone she met through a dating app a few months ago. With that evidence, police picked him up. At first, he denied everything, said he didn't know me, claimed it was a misunderstanding. But when confronted with text on his phone from Tara saying, "Give her a scare so she backs off, and don't leave bruises, just make her shut up," his story fell apart. Zane took a deal. He admitted Tara planned the whole thing and offered to testify against her for a reduced sentence. Tara's arrest, it happened 2 weeks after I got emergency guardianship. She had just landed back in town and was apparently waiting in baggage claim when she was surrounded by officers and cuffed on the spot. The charges: child abandonment, conspiracy to commit assault, intimidation of a guardian, reckless endangerment. She screamed, cried, swore it was all a misunderstanding. She said she was the victim, that I stole her kids. But this time, no one believed her. She was held without bail pending trial, and the DA was already stacking witness statements. From me, from Zane, even from the officer who first responded to my 911 call. The fallout: Dad finally called. He sounded tired, worn down. I could hear it in his voice. The denial was cracking. "I didn't know," he said. "I thought she just needed help." I stayed silent. Then he said something I'll never forget. "She always had you to clean up her messes. I guess I just thought you always would." I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just said, "She burned that bridge herself." The kids, Milo and Lila, stayed with me through the whole process. Social services came to check in. They interviewed them gently, asked how they felt, what they needed. Both kids said the same thing: "We feel safe here." They started therapy soon after. Milo, who had once acted out constantly, started drawing comics. Lila began dancing again, something Tara once called a waste of time. At night, they would hug me before bed without needing to be asked. The fear in their eyes faded. Slowly, but it faded, the trial. 6 months later, Tara's trial began. It was surreal, watching her walk into the courtroom in a blazer that didn't fit, and an expression that flickered between rage and fake remorse. She pleaded not guilty. Zane testified. So did I. The evidence was overwhelming. The texts, the footage, the travel records, the bruises on my arms. The jury took less than 2 hours. She was found guilty on all counts, sentenced to 3 years in prison, with parole possible after 18 months. The judge also ruled that upon release, Tara would need to petition the court if she ever wanted supervised visitation with her kids. There was no automatic reunification. The decision, a month later, Cynthia asked me what I wanted to do long-term. I had a choice. I could keep temporary custody until Tara's sentence was over, or I could file for permanent guardianship, which would protect the kids indefinitely. That night, I sat down with Milo and Lila. I told them the truth, that they weren't at fault for anything, that I loved them, and that they had a say too. Milo asked me quietly, if we stay with you, will you still read with us at night? Lila added, will you still dance with me in the living room? I smiled, always, so I filed the papers. A new chapter. It's been just over a year now. The kids are thriving. I moved into a bigger home with an extra room for each of them. We painted the walls together. They picked the colors. I started a podcast on toxic family systems, sharing my story anonymously at first, then publicly, to my surprise. Thousands of people reached out. People who had lived through similar chaos. People who had felt trapped by obligation and guilt. People who needed to hear that you are allowed to choose peace. As for Tara, I don't know if she's changed. I don't spend much time wondering. Her sentence is halfway over. She's written twice. Apologies that read more like justifications. I haven't responded, because this isn't her story anymore. It's mine, it's ours, and in this version, no one gets to abandon their kids and get away with it.